Welcome to Sonia's Space. This is episode 28, and I thank you all for tuning in today. And for today's episode, I would like to talk about something that I have gone through and I'm still currently going through right now. And I feel like I wanted to have this space to talk about the postpartum recovery process and essentially what happens and my personal experience going through this. And also the fact that I want other women to know that you're not alone when you're going through this and it's okay to ask for help and know that there are other women out there that are struggling with this process. It's definitely not easy. So I wanted to come on here and talk about my personal experience and know that it's okay. And I know that us women, we can be really hard on ourselves right after birth of the baby. And we're just going through certain identity shifts and you're transitioning into this new phase. And yeah, it's great to have a baby, a cute, beautiful baby that you can take care of. But at the same time, it's not necessarily, happy go lucky all the time, right? Like you can really drown yourself in your negative emotions and not really be up to doing anything. So I just want to let you all know that you are not alone if you're going through this and it's okay and when to ask for help. And I'm really going to be vulnerable with sharing my personal experience. And I'm sure that some of you can relate. And I just want to say that you've got this, mama, and you'll get through this. And I have to tell this to myself as well. And I have friends that support me that tell me this as well. And I wanted to create a space so you don't necessarily feel alone and could probably relate to what I'm going through. I want to dive into my delivery story quickly and then jump right into my postpartum recovery and the whole process and kind of what to expect and, how to really do the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. So, I had Raya right at 38 weeks and 1 day. I was actually very shocked because I thought I would go past the full term, like the 40 weeks. And my water broke, and I had her at 38 weeks and 1 day. And my labor was 40 hours. Was 40 hours. It's because for multiple reasons. Again, I just want to say that this was the hardest thing I've done in my life was the labor in itself. I would say that I did not expect that I would be in labor for that long. I mean, I was kind of like, maybe I might have a long labor, but no, like that just felt extremely long for me. And yeah, I was in labor for 40 hours. And one, I wasn't dilating too quickly. And they were really trying to speed up the process by giving me Pitocin and Cytotex. So these are inducing agents that they give you. So, your cervix can get dilated and the baby is ready to be delivered. And on top of that, my epidural actually failed 3 times. So basically, that whole process took hours. It would work and it would wear off really fast because apparently the spinal gap where they put in the epidural wouldn't go into that space all the way through. I don't know exactly the reason. I had 2 anesthesiologists that came in to perform that procedure on me, and one was saying that it's because I'm a petite woman with a I had a really big belly because I was pregnant, so I couldn't really get into the correct position for her to uh, put the catheter in me. And the other one said that apparently had like a slight curvature. I don't know what it was, but I mean, it would work, but then it would wear off within an hour. So there was just a lot going on with that. So I think we were more on focused on that than, the whole pushing process. But eventually, you know what? I had to push the baby out. I pushed her for 4 hours, and that was crazy in itself, but I feel like I was so delusional and so out of it because when you're an epidural, that you cannot have food, right? And there are multiple reasons for that. So they say to have food right before you get an epidural, but I was constantly getting epidural, and I did not have food for hours, like at least I don't even remember. I think it was at least 12 hours. I'm gonna ask my husband, um, because I was really going in and out of, like, I was just so out of it. And I am not trying to scare anyone because what happened to me is pretty rare. For the most part, like epidural works great on other people. And I've had this discussion with my OBGYN, and we realized that we're going to do not intermittent epidural release. We're going to do continuous. We realized that later and it was too late. But you can always work around it and whatnot if I were to have a second baby. But I just want to say that there are women out there that have, great birth stories, but then there are also some women out there, which, it doesn't happen quite often, that really do struggle with the whole labor and delivery process. So I'm just saying I'm one of them. And, once Raya was out, she had a little situation where she kind of choked up on her amniotic fluid, which made her oxygen levels drop a bit. And this was the night of the delivery. So, I mean, going through the delivery process, the labor and delivery process, and then jumping right into that was very traumatic for me. And she had to be in the NICU, just standard protocol to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Because since it's already happened like once, like they want to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I was fully on board with that because I wouldn't want to just take her home and then find out that she went through something like that again. And it makes sense because she was like in my body for so long, and my water broke. So I'm sure that, she swallowed up some of the amniotic fluid. So I had to go through that process as well. So I went home without my baby, for some time. And then, ended up, um, bringing her home, and she was totally fine, totally healthy. They were just monitoring her. Um, and believe it or not, the day I brought her home, I had a really bad um hypertension episode. My blood pressure like spiked up, and mind you, I've never had any health issues, right? Like I've like never ever had high blood pressure, and of course a lot of women actually go through prenatal, like during pregnancy they go through preeclampsia and postpartum preeclampsia, which is what I was diagnosed with. So literally I was seeing like stars and just like dots everywhere. And that's a huge sign of postpartum preeclampsia, and your blood pressure is high. And I checked my blood pressure, and it was actually quite high. And I had to rush back to the hospital because my doctor had already, informed me that if any of these things happen, you have to go back to the hospital. So I went back to the hospital. I was admitted for a night, and they had to do the magnesium drip, which is a 24-hour process. So you're on this drip for literally 24 hours. You can't even get up to go to the bathroom, right? It was a lot, and I can tell you right now that that entire, like, the labor and delivery, then the situation, the event that happened with Raya, her being in the NICU for a bit, and then me going right back to the hospital for being admitted for a postpartum preeclampsia, it definitely took a toll on me, like more emotionally and mentally than physically. And physically, also, I'm going through the whole postpartum recovery process, right? Like, because you are bleeding for X amount of days. And of course, there's so much blood, and you're already so sore down there. And then you're having to like make sure that you have the right regimen to ensure that, you're taking care of yourself down there. And it could be a lot because, you have a hard time like moving, sitting down, like things like that. And you just feel so weak and you feel tired. You're in pain. So the entirety of that process was very traumatic for me because, of course, like, I don't know if you know, but when you give birth, like, literally your hormonal levels, they just drop drastically, and that's why a lot of women go into, postpartum depression and anxiety, and then they have the baby blues. I had and have all of that, by the way. And I think this is something that we don't talk about too much in our community, specifically in the South Asian community. But yes, it exists. It happens because I can tell you right now, like the way I don't get I'm I don't really get depressed. Like I've had like anxiety, like I have anxiety, but I don't really feel down like that, like the way I did around that time. Like I just felt so down and so sad, and I was so hard on myself. It was like one of the worst feelings ever. And even with me talking it out with somebody, and my husband was so supportive. My mom was there for me, and it's you still like I felt so alone even with that. Like I just felt like I had failed my baby or something from, having hypertension. I know that doesn't sound like logical in any way, but it's just like, how can I be a healthy mother to my daughter and, show up for her? I was just spiraling and having all of these thoughts. So I think it's really important to talk about postpartum anxiety and depression, and also talk about some of the complications that you can go through. Because like I said, like that whole labor and delivery process, but then like your body is stressed out so much to where like certain complications can arise. So yes, I did go through a really rough time after giving birth to Raya. And I'm doing much better now, but I can assure you that my anxiety has gotten much worse than it was before. And I really have to tell myself, that entire time when I came back home, I like, of course, you want to focus all on the baby because everything's new to you. It's your firstborn. Regardless of people helping you out, you want to make sure, okay, is she sleeping enough? Is she, getting enough milk? And of course, like I was like pumping and like, trying to breastfeed, and then like with the formula, it's a lot, right? It's just too much happening. And you're waking up in the middle of the night a few times and you're trying to feed the baby, and you want to make sure the baby's being burped and she's fine and she's not choking like she did in the hospital. So I was really on edge. Like my husband was too, but I was really on edge right after I gave birth to Raya. So, yes, it can be hard. It can definitely take a toll on you. But I just want to come on here and say that please ask for all the help that you can. It's okay to ask for help, because at the beginning I wasn't really asking for help, but then I realized, okay, I need to like really go ahead and ask people for help. Like my mom needs to come over, I need to go to my mom's, whatever it is, right? Any sort of help that I can get so I can sleep, because if I don't get X amount of hours of sleep, I cannot function like at all. And it turns into overstimulation and having an anxiety attack. So that is what I was initially going through, and I still have the anxiety right now, and it's worsened, prior to being pregnant and during pregnancy. So postpartum can be a lot. And I just want to say that, if if you are pregnant, or you're planning on, um, getting pregnant or whatever it is, please tell yourself, remind yourself to take care of yourself first, because the baby needs you to be healthy, because it accumulates and it builds up really fast. So please take the right measures of taking care of yourself. Communicate with your partner exactly what you need. So during my labor and delivery process, like I had a conversation with Jesse before. Like, I told him that he has to advocate for me. Like, he knows me really well. Like, he knows, when I'm in pain, when I'm not in pain. Like, he can read me really well. And we also had to have that communication of like, okay, if, things go down, like, will you be there for me to talk to a doctor on my behalf? Because I was so delusional. Like, I was like, between contractions, I was falling asleep. Like, I was legit snoring. Like, that is how exhausted I was. And he had to like really advocate for me and, speak to the nurses and, speak to the OBGYN and all of that because I don't think I could have done it myself. I really couldn't have. And, there were times where like I was extremely tired and he had to like speak up for me and he like said no, because sometimes you really have to like let the nurses know, like, hey, like this is not going to happen or whatever it may be. So, I think you definitely have to have someone to advocate for you and communicate for you in the case that, you're not feeling well physically or mentally or emotionally. Just prepare yourself for that, regardless, even if you have a great delivery, whatever it may be, you still need to have somebody that is willing to advocate for you. Be it your significant other, a parent, a friend, a doula. Doulas are great too, from what I've heard. So do what you can in order to make sure that you're being supported and getting what you need. And then, of course, right after that, you want to make sure that you have the full support from your partner to take care of the baby. So, like the paternity leave, whatever it may be, have those conversations early on. So that way you both can be present for the baby, and your partner should know that, hey, Sonia, like, you haven't taken a shower or go eat, I'll hold the baby. Like, you need to make sure that, your partner is supporting you, and then you're also helping out your partner, but more so like your partner is supporting you, especially in the early days, because you're already going through the physical recovery process from delivering the baby. But yeah, make sure that you have um, that good level of communication and compassion from one another when you're taking care of the baby, because you're doing it together and things can get frustrating and things can get confusing, and you're already sleep deprived, and you want to make sure that you are constantly communicating to your partner what you need. So I would say that's also very important during the postpartum recovery process. Another thing I would say is that just be really mindful of your symptoms. Like, for instance, like I had that high blood pressure spike, but anything else, just be really mindful of your symptoms. Don't, you know, push anything away or just ignore it, because even with my high blood pressure spike and me seeing stars, like the stars, like, the blurry vision like went away. Like, eventually, it took, like, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, but I'm so glad I still went to the hospital, because even if it went away, it could have led to a stroke or a seizure. So do not disregard any symptoms, postpartum symptoms that would indicate that you need to be in the hospital or you need to go see a doctor immediately. So just be really mindful of that. And also, again, sleep deprivation does occur, but like you just have to work around it and figure out, okay, how many hours of sleep do I need to be able to function? Like, even if it's 4 hours at night, it's just broken up sleep, whatever you need to make sure that you can function, because you can't get a full night's sleep. Like, that's not possible at the beginning, unless, of course, you have a parent that's helping out or your partner's helping out like throughout the entire night. So whatever works out for you, just figure out how many hours of sleep that you need to be able to function. And then, of course, make sure that you are eating well, taking up nutritious food. And the other thing I did, I actually just stopped recently because I ran out of it. I need to order, but reorder my prenatals. Make sure that you continue to take your prenatals, because I know they're prenatals, but you need all the vitamins and all the nutrition that you can get at that time, because hello, you just delivered a baby and it's not easy, especially if you're like a breastfeeding or pumping. Do you know how much energy that takes away from you and how much calories you're burning from that? Like, I get so hungry after I breastfeed Raya. it's crazy. I'm like, where did this hunger come from? So it can be a lot, but just make sure that, either you're meal prepping, like my mom actually like, sent food over to me. I've had, great friends like that delivered food to my house, or like, you're just ordering takeout, whatever you need to do to make sure that you are eating and you are hydrating yourself. Like I'm not perfect at this. I know I'm saying this. I'm not perfect at this, but I'm like doing what I can. And I know that these are the things that are supposed to make a mother feel good after giving birth. So when I don't do these things, I feel like shit. So I would just say, please make sure to take care of yourself, figure out how much sleep you need, and of course, do not hesitate in asking for help, because initially I wasn't really asking for help, even like with my own mom. And then I started really asking for help, and she stepped in, and there were times where like I actually did get a full night's rest because she just took care of Raya throughout the night, and I just needed that reset. So ask for all the help that you can get. Like even if it's just a day or two where someone can help you, or you can just, you know, do whatever you need to do to kind of like reset and refresh. And another thing is that I also like, for me, just being at home, like with the baby nonstop was driving me crazy because I'm not an introvert. Like, yeah, like I can like relax and chill at home, but like, I feel so much better when I go out and go do things, even if it's just like a run to Target or whatever, and like, going grocery shopping or getting some coffee. So, I made that very clear to Jesse as well. So I would just like ask if he can take care of the baby for a few hours or a couple hours, and then I would just leave. I would just go shopping, go to Target, do my thing, and I would feel so good. Like, I'll just be like listening to my music, like jamming it in the car and like going out for a drive, getting some fresh air, going out for a walk. Make sure you're doing these things and you're just not really like forgetting about yourself. I know it's easier said than done, but do whatever you can whenever you can to make sure that you're feeling good about yourself and you're feeling healthy and you're feeling refreshed. Raya is 8 weeks now. And I feel like we've slowly have gotten into a routine. And again, there's going to be like sleep regressions and things are going to change. But like now, like she's older now and like we understand what her needs are, what our needs are, and how we can work with the baby to make sure that we're able to take care of her to the best of our ability. So I think now we've come to a point where we have like an actual routine, especially now that Jesse's back at work. And thank God he's working from home, because even then he can like step in and help me for a bit. Like if he gets some breaks, like he'll just hold the baby or feed the baby and I can just go take a shower. So again, making sure that you're communicating with your partner with what you need, and it really does. It helps a great amount. The other thing I would say is that make sure that you're checking in on yourself mentally, because postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety is not a joke. Like, it isn't a joke. That stuff can build up and stick with you for a very long time if you do not attend to it right now. Like, this is the window to do it, right? Like take a day, go see when you go see your doctor for like your 2 week or 6 week, whatever it may be, make sure to bring that up to your OBGYN and get the counseling services that you need. Take any medications that you need, because it'll help you, balance out your chemical receptors in your brain. And then of course it helps out with your hormone levels as well. You need that. Yes, you can go on those walks, you can eat the right foods, but sometimes like there's things that are happening in our body that is outside of our control, especially during this period. So if you have the resources, please take advantage of that. Go get some counseling if needed. Take some medications, antidepressants, whatever it may be as needed during this period, because we need a healthy mama for the baby. We need a healthy mama for the baby. And doesn't mean physically, it's all around, right? We want to make sure the mom is doing okay and she's taking care of herself. So I would really emphasize on that. And that's coming from my personal experience. Again, I would like to say that you don't have to do everything on your own. It takes a village, right? Call your parents, call some friends, have a maid come by and clean up your house. Like we had to do that. Like we had to call somebody to just clean up our entire house. Do whatever you can, spend that money on yourself to make sure that you're taking care of yourself during this first, they say it's the fourth trimester, right? And that's the postpartum period. Make sure you're doing everything that you can to take care of yourself because this is a time where you really need to make sure that you're doing okay and then you're okay enough to take care of the baby. So do not take this lightly. So yeah, the postpartum process can be a lot, but it does get better. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and do what works for you. And please take advantage of all the resources that you have around you to ensure that you're being a healthy mama. And also, I just want to first of all, I just want to say that kudos. I have so much respect for all the mothers out there. Like, I have friends who are mothers, my own mother, my grandmother, my mother-in-law. Like, man, this is really something. Being a mom is a full-time job, right? It can be a lot. And I have so much respect for mothers who have been through this and are going through this. You guys are amazing. You guys are awesome. It can be a lot. And I feel like, society in general, especially the South Asian community, does not give women the credit that they need, but also they deserve. They deserve this credit. I feel like a lot of the men in our society expect the women to just go through with it because their mothers have and they shouldn't be complaining, or women have been doing this for generations. No, I think there's much more awareness of the issue. Women are speaking up about it, and of course, if women are not taking care of themselves, they're ending up with mental health disorders from going through the postpartum process. It happens. I've seen it happen with people in our community. So I think we have to be really mindful of a woman's body, the decision that she makes, and the whole process that she's going through mentally, emotionally, and physically, and to support those women. And I feel like there's also much more awareness in the men as well to make sure that they are taking care of their wives and they're giving them the respect and the help that they deserve. So being a mom, it is definitely not easy. So I have so much respect for mothers, for sure. Also, feel free to message me on Instagram if you ever have any questions regarding postpartum. Like, I have listeners message me all the time, asking questions. And definitely, if I have the time and I see it, I would love to respond back. I really want to create the space and the sense of community where we support each other. So again, feel free to message me on Instagram if you have any questions. I think I like to explain my experience full on in my episodes. But again, if you have any additional questions regarding my experience and what I've been through, uh, Sonia Space is a space where you can definitely reach out to me. Thank you so much for listening in today. I am so grateful for all the support and feedback I've been getting. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to Sonia Space, and follow me on Instagram for sneak peeks on upcoming episodes as well as other inspirational content. I hope your day goes well and I've left you feeling inspired. Bye-bye.